Relax and unwind, but stay informed. It's the Sunday Cafe on Magic Talk.
18 past 10, stressful being locked in with someone that you may not really like that much. It's times like this that I often wonder what Anna Lork, MP for a Tuki would advise.
There's a few people in here who need a bit of barocca.
Oh, heck yeah. And if you're locked in with someone that you don't really like, this is the perfect time to think, do I want to leave you? Bridgette Jackson is a lawyer by profession and the right person to talk to when it comes to 50 ways to leave your lover. Bridgette is a divorce settlement strategist and her company is called Exes, and Bridgette Jackson is here with me on the Sunday Cafe. Good morning.
Good morning on this interesting times we're going through once again, Roman.
Gee, there's an interesting word. Interesting. Yeah, I know. How stressful is it? Because, look, let's face it, some couples can't stand each other. And now they're about to go into another week of being locked away with the farting, snivelling, cups on the kitchen bench person.
Yeah, well, my first point is actually take some space for each other, okay? So find spots in the house that are yours. If you're not getting on, then actually, designate, I'm going to be here and you're going to be there. So you can actually bring yourself back into your own, do some meditation, listen to some music, journaling, read on your bed if you're really finding that you can't communicate at this time. And, children come into play hugely. Like, I've got 4 children. I had 3, after 3 days in lockdown, a couple of weeks ago, that was enough for me. So, and actually a couple of them on sleepovers. I'm just wondering if they're going to come back.
Oh.
But,
Gee, that's stressful.
So, yeah, that's right. So if people have children, I think it's really important that you actually talk to each other and say, okay, well, you're on the morning shift and I'm on the afternoon shift. And obviously that's going to affect work in some regard, but I mean, we all been through this many times. So if you can do that, that will allow you both to actually get some space.
Bridgette, though, can I just remind some people that people like me who live in the equivalent of a dog kennel or the size of an apartment that's like a Tupperware container, like you go to your corner, I'll go to mine, you're still in the same room.
Well, we're allowed outside, Roman, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, true.
So taking some time to get outside, within a certain number of Ks, and go for a walk or go for a jog or, I think that's really important to make the time to actually go out and have some exercise. Try and knock off on the booze because that's going to escalate things at home. It really is. And, if you possibly can, is communicate. If you're having issues and you haven't yet decided that you're going to leave each other, actually use it as an opportunity to sit down and talk about what is actually going on in your relationship.
Now, Bridgette, I know that you're a lawyer, and I don't want to cast aspersions upon lawyers, but man, they drive nice cars and they know how to make money. Mediation is vastly better than going to court, right? So talk me through that. How do you get the person who hates you and they've already decided that they're out of there, but how do you get them to come to the table?
Well, I've dealt with this obviously on many, many occasions, and I think it's really important to actually, what I do is I do some pre-mediation coaching with my clients. And in the first instance, we talk about, what are the options available so you can negotiate, mediate, collaborative law, arbitration or litigation. Talk about the positives versus the negatives of, going to court versus mediation. So court is very expensive, very time-consuming. Let's not forget about the emotional toll. There's a whole lot of negatives there. It affects the people involved, but also the wider community and the children. So mediation is a structured process where an impartial third party actually helps couples resolve their conflicts through the use of communication and negotiation to negotiate a settlement. And what is really important, Roman, when going through this is managing your emotions. It's very, very important that people need to manage their emotions going through the process, talking, listening and creating solutions step by step. Flexible thinking is really important. Talking about unresolved issues while making decisions is really important, and coming up with new proposals.
I'm just thinking back about the mediation. Look, I've been through all this, and it's very hard when you're sitting there when one person's checked out months ago and you're sitting there a snivelling, snotty mess trying to get through that things are fixable. How does informal mediation work in terms of divorce or separation? Informal compared to formal, I guess.
Well, in terms of, I undertake a lot of informal mediation, so it's actually a lot lower key and not with all the formalities like, opening statements, for example. In formal mediation, both parties are able to make a formal statement to each other. But what we do is we do the pre-mediation coaching, talking about how to moderate their behaviour, managing emotions. So I see them individually, and then they come together. And it's a very relaxed atmosphere, which I think it needs to be. So what I talk about in the first instance is please make sure that you respect each other and say kind words to each other. Otherwise, it's going to stop right now. And give each other an opportunity to talk. All right, that's really, really important. We have an agenda on the board and we go through it step by step. And sometimes, we don't sit there all day for 8 hours. It's not productive. After a couple of hours, you certainly know whether you've made some headway in that regard, and we go, okay, well, let's make an appointment for a couple of weeks' time or next week once we've worked through the agenda items that need to be completed from our first couple of hours of discussion. And that works really well. Baby steps, putting it into little chunks is really important because it's very overwhelming for everybody, and we certainly don't discuss custody issues with relationship properties at the same time. They are dealt in separate mediation. That's really important.
Is it important to have an agenda? Because as you said, it's like you've run a marathon. If you sit there, emotions raw, it's incredibly exhausting. But what do you see as the priority? I mean, is it money?
Well, it depends what they're mediating over. In the first instance, children are really, really important. People have got two issues when it comes to separating, and that's the money and the kids. And it's usually one or the other that seems to be the main issue. But if you can sort out the money side of things, or oppositely the children, then it flows from there. But the big thing is the money. If you're able to actually be fair with each other and realise moving forward that you need to do this for the sake of yourself and the sake of the family. You've got to have some foresight. Rather than short term, you've got to think long term, coming back to being your best self, coming back to how do I want to be perceived in 10 years' time, how I've acted in this process.
Oh, heck yeah, because history can be quite ugly when you're reminded constantly by children, for example, about your stupidity. Bridgette Jackson, a lawyer by profession and with a company called Exes. So if you're sitting there and you can see where this is heading and you're thinking, don't, do they listen to you? Do you have case studies, for example, that you say, back in 1873, what do you do?
No, case studies in terms of I'm talking about clients. Well, I can speak to my clients who are going, right, I'm not going to sort out this custody issue. I'm going to court and I'm going to get 70% custody of my children, and I don't care. I get that a lot. I don't care whether it hurts whoever and how much it costs. And I say, well, look, I talk them through some scenarios that I've had in the past. Talking to people down from, pretty much jumping off the cliff, figuratively speaking. And actually they do listen. I say, well, look, these are the consequences. Think about these two thoughts. I actually want you to envisage in your head, think about it. How would that look from your perspective, you going down this track rather than this track? And then they wake up and realise and go, yeah, they may need some time to think about that, but they come back to me and go, yes. Yeah. That is not the way that I should be going. And this comes back to, as I've said before, is managing your emotions. You need to learn, you need to rely on yourself to decipher your emotional triggers. And that can be very difficult if you've just separated 3 weeks ago compared to 5 years down the track. It really is. Time is a healer, and it's just really important that you take hold, because how you manage your emotions will actually set your plan for the future, what your future is going to look like. I can't stress that enough. I really can't.
Bridgette Jackson, she can help you in your mediation, in your divorce, or the plans, or just some help there. The company's called Exes. Bridgette, who tends to be the more pig-headed and set in their ways, males or females?
Well, I work with more females in this business, 70% sort of females, 30% men, but generally, on a general basis, it is men. It is men.
Why do you? But why do you have 70% females? Why would that skew be that way?
70% females, I think, because probably one of my target markets predominantly is women who have been at home for, say, 15 years. They've got 3 children, they haven't worked, and they've been married or in a de facto relationship with somebody who is high earning in their position. And when it comes to the money, money is certainly a big driver for people. Things tend to go to custard. And if you haven't worked for such a long period of time and the money gets cut off, there are big issues there, and they really need their hand to be held as they go through the process. And coming back to the lack of financial literacy that these women, predominantly women, have. So I'm in the process, which is going to be launched in the next few weeks, a financial literacy program with a financial advisor to help those men and women who are going through the process, who don't know how to budget moving forward, who don't know, who are just completely lost when it comes to the financial aspect. And then they've got to think about the parenting and what are their new beginnings going to be like, and what about the legal side of it?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to think about, and people, it's very overwhelming for people, very, very overwhelming for
Bridgette,
people.
I just want to pull you up, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to agree with me, and everybody does. But in terms of the person at home who hasn't had to work, oh my God, have they had to work, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I mean, I think the economic disparities, so over the last 2 years, with the Scott and Williams precedent in relation to this area, it's a cat among the pigeons, and it's very difficult. So, and some people find it difficult to recognise that someone who's been at home with the children is, it's just the same as someone going to work. Someone's got to actually sacrifice their life in some way if you're going to have, children. So, yeah, it's a very difficult space that, and then forensic accountants get involved doing reports about how much the partner at home should be getting extra in terms of the relationship property, all of that.
Okay, well, Bridgette, if people are listening out and they've got to the end of their tether, but they see you as an opportunity, that mediation might work for them, how do they find you?
Yes. Well, they can find me at equalexes.com. And they can also call me on 021 895 032 or email me at Bridgette, BRIDGETTE, at equalexes.com. Romaine, at the end of the day, I just want people to come out of this process feeling good about themselves and getting the positive, sustainable outcomes that they need, in terms of the custody and the relationship property, so they can just get that part of their life, which has been very difficult to move forward.
Yeah, do it with dignity. Do it with Bridgette Jackson and Equal Exes. That's a really good, strong message. I just made that up. Thank you so much, Bridgette, for your time this morning.